Donald J. Trump endorsing Nicco Marchiol. That's right. You heard that. Patrick Morrissey also retweeting the tweet about that. And then we're going to talk about the game too. West Virginia and Baylor. It's on Locked On West Virginia. Stick around.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what is up? Welcome in, guys. My name is Mountaineer Paul, your host. Thank you for joining us on Locked On West Virginia, where we're going to talk about an incredible weekend where both teams have a really good chance to get bowl eligible and more. And this is going to be brought to you by Game Time, guys. Don't forget to download the Game Time Media app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Also, I have to thank you for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen and Locked On Baylor. If you don't care, while we're doing that, let's go ahead and bring on the guy from Locked On Baylor, Cam Stuart, man. What is up, brother?
Oh, man, it is so good to finally be on a crossover with Mountaineer Paul. I mean, the Locked On West Virginia has just like swept the nation of the Locked On network, and it is all Mountaineer Paul. I am excited to be here, Paul. Let's do this thing.
Let's do this thing, man. So obviously when I sent you the thumbnail for this, I wasn't sure what your reaction was going to be. Then I was pleased to hear that you too were thinking about doing something with it. Yeah. Donald Trump reposting Nicco Marchiol, in my mind, endorsing him to be the quarterback for West Virginia this week. Listen, it fits. He endorsed him. And then newly elected Governor Patrick Morrissey reposted that just yesterday saying, look, West Virginia is always going to be first. And then the Trump administration, there's a lot to unpack there with that. But what was your reaction?
Honestly, Paul, I saw it last night and I look in there and I'm like, okay, what West Virginia burner account has changed their name and their profile picture so that it says Donald J. Trump? And I look in there, it's, a couple million followers. And I'm like, oh my, this is the guy. This is the man himself. And it took me a second. I'm like, what in the world is a Nicco Marchiol video doing on Donald Trump's timeline or in his tweet? But I got it. I got the dance thing. I get it now. Unbelievably bad momentum for Baylor going into this game. It's bad enough they've never won in Morgantown, and now the Trump machine, as it's at its peak momentum coming off an election win, is throwing out West Virginia dance moves. It's a tough break. It's something we've got to overcome. It is really. I thought the biggest pop culture hurdle Baylor was going to have was at Tech a few weeks ago. My man whose name I cannot remember, who played Pedro in Napoleon Dynamite, had a Vote for Taj shirt on. And I was like, no way Baylor comes back from that. They actually won. And this is now the second big time pop culture hurdle the Bears will have to go through to keep this winning streak alive. Possibly
the biggest pop culture hurdle ever.
I mean, this is really tough. Like, I know most of America, voting America, is familiar with college football, right? But just the fact that literally the most popular man, maybe in the entire world, is tweeting about West Virginia football on a week that we're playing them it seems seismic, Paul. It really does. It's not enjoyable.
Speaking of seismic, I went to the bathroom earlier and happened to look on my phone. I wasn't out of toilet paper, but in case I was, I saw something that was posted by Voice of Morgantown, and it seems like the Wolfpack is at it again. First, it was a banner that were going to fly over the stadium. Then it was billboards they put up, Fire Neil Brown, to which some other West Virginia fans responded with Keep Neil Brown. What do you think the counter to a Fire Neil Brown toilet paper would be?
That's a really good question in terms of the counter. What I was thinking of when you showed me that was how the trajectory that Neil Brown and Dave Aranda have been on and the mirror images, and Dave has not bounced back with the 9-win season yet, but is on that trajectory. But we've also not seen Fire Dave Aranda toilet paper. So I'm thankful for that. And I'm sure Dave is too. But in terms of how do you counter toilet paper? Like, what is the opposite? Is it a commemorative plate?
Dude, why?
I'm trying to think of the exact. Actually, that's probably it. They're not a sponsor anymore, so we can't throw too much out there. But maybe throw them on a Hims bottle or something, and there we go. That would be the opposite. Yeah.
Or a what's the
regulating good bodily functions.
What's the water thing called? Days? Or no? The thing that Brits use that squirt water up.
Bidets. Yes.
Yeah.
A Neil Brown bidet. Like put it as Neil Brown's mouth or something. That would be really towing the line, but so would the fire Neil Brown toilet paper. So
right.
I think you're onto something there. MP.
Last one, and then we'll move on to the game preview. You know the thing that's peeing on the Ford logo?
Yeah.
You could have a Neil Brown logo peeing on the Wolfpack logo, maybe the people that have been saying fire Neil Brown. Maybe
that would be a good one. I think we'll see those on bumper stickers, right next to like the Disney family stickers. We'll just have one of those. Neil Brown taking a piss on.
At least this way, we're pleasing both sides of the fan base. It's not all about crapping on Neil Brown here. We're gonna try to think of some strategies for Neil Brown too.
Yes, you can't say we're leaning from one side or the other.
Exactly.
Like, we are pro, not necessarily pro or anti Neil Brown, but pro democracy in a way.
The way my brain works. I'll tell you, because I started to think, okay, so if the Neil Brown stuff is something and the Trump stuff is something in this space, what would be the left and the right part of that conversation? We're going to stay away from that though. And get into some game stuff, man. So obviously this is an incredibly awesome week for both teams. Both teams are coming in pretty hot. Baylor really hot, maybe the hottest team in the Big 12.
Some are saying, yeah.
If I'd have told you a few weeks ago that you're going to have a redshirt freshman running back pop out of nowhere that was injured for the first two games and be one of the best backs in the Big 12 over the last few games, would you believe me?
Probably not, Paul. Like I think we had high hopes for Bryson Washington, but he was someone who's been banged up, and he was banged up to start this year, and so we didn't even know when he was going to play. And so, I felt good about Bryson Washington. I liked the kid. But you also had Dawson Pendergrass, who had a nice freshman year last year. You have the Big 12 offensive freshman of the year from 2 years ago, Richard Reese, in that backfield too. So I don't think anyone was expecting the breakout, like Big 12 offensive player of the week kind of numbers 2 out of the last 3 weeks. Yeah. I don't think we were expecting that, no. But boy, is he fun to watch. Like, is that not the kind of running back that everyone wants? Like that guy who is speed and power, is going to hit that hole hard. In fact, looking at the Oklahoma State game from 2 weeks ago, it was Pendergrass who had the huge game, and it was really because he was more patient than Bryson Washington. Like that OSU defense, that OSU defense, it takes a second, but those holes will open up. They've proven that all year. Right. And Bryson was like too hard and heavy with it, which most times you're going to take that, right? You're going to love that. And that ended up being Dawson's week. And then a bounce back week for Bryson Washington, I'll say, with 4 touchdowns against TCU. He and Sawyer Robertson have been huge revelations for this team. They're a huge reason why this is 3-0 and why this matchup all of a sudden is a pretty fun one with two teams battling for that 6th win and bowl eligibility.
Well, it's crazy that at the same time that we have Neil Brown toilet paper coming out literally an hour ago, or at least people recognized it an hour ago. I don't know when it came out. That if he wins out and only Kansas State and Colorado lose 1 game apiece, West Virginia is in the Big 12 championship game. So what the ultimate ha-ha from Neil Brown could be, and I would support it, obviously, as a West Virginia fan. If you want to get everybody back on the Neil Brown bandwagon, that's probably how you do it. Seems like people are coming back to the Dave Aranda bandwagon that had left off. It's his coaching acumen really never been in question. I think it was a team building. Is he getting the right players? Because what he did at LSU was unquestionably great, and what he's done at times at Baylor too. And then I was thinking also about what a game that was last year. Garrett Greene that guy hasn't been the quarterback for us this year. That guy has not been anywhere near. And then we had the Zach Frazier play as well, all in one game. Just one of the greatest feats I've ever really seen. A guy breaks his leg and then literally jumps off the field to avoid a 10-second runoff. You had the mental acuity to think about that. Like, incredible. Okay. Which is why he's probably one of the best centers in the league already. getting awarded. He had a 90 PFF grade in run and
Ooh.
pass pro the other day. So, like, he's obviously doing well for himself. Do you think this game can live up to that kind of hype?
I hope so for an entertainment factor. I obviously hope it goes a different way. I blocked out a lot of that game from my memory.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you're looking at it, and I was looking at some of my deeper analytics websites on this game, it's dead even, Paul. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, these two teams they have some different strengths, but some similar strengths, and overall, they are two very evenly matched teams. And for the West Virginia side, it seems like no matter who is at quarterback, it's still pretty evenly matched.
Pretty even. Yeah.
And that's what I love this kind of game for Baylor, because so much of college football is about who's going to get into the playoff and this, that, and the other. And honestly, screw the playoff. Okay, these are two teams that are going for good old-fashioned bowl eligibility. And that it means a lot to these fan bases and to these coaches to hit that number. And it's one of the great atmospheres in the Big 12 up in Morgantown. So it's going to be a fun game. I said it about the TCU game last week for the same thing. Not playing for the playoff. We're playing for rivalry, bragging rights, bowl eligibility, like all that stuff still means something to these two fan bases, which I love, man. I love it.
Me too. And I'll tell you what, we're going to get into a lot more of that right after break, guys. Stick around. We're going to talk about game keys. We'll do predictions. We'll do all of it. Stick around, guys. This is Locked On West Virginia. And this episode of Locked On West Virginia is brought to you by Game Time, guys. That's right. One of my favorites, Game Time. Game Time app has curated deals that makes it easier to get the best price on great seats. You can do a 360-degree panoramic view of the seat in the app before you buy, guys. They'll give you a credited 110% if you can find a lower price. That's pretty dang good, covered by the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, download that app, redeem the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off, and download the Game Time app today, and then ask yourself this question. What time is it? It's game time. And I'm back with Cam Stuart. Did you ask yourself the question?
What time is it?
It's game time.
I found out pretty quickly. It's like an alarm clock. It is such game time.
It reminds me.
When game time comes around on Saturday, I've got to ask you, because you're the expert. Who is starting? Like, who is this? I've gone through all the scenarios in my head. I've looked through all the numbers. I've watched some game film and been like, who is there an advantage here? Who could this be? Who would Neil want to roll with right now? But you're the expert. I mean, I'm sure you've talked about it and your fans are sick of hearing about it. But for me, who is starting this week?
You got to lean Garrett Greene, I think, because that's who Neil Brown trusts. He started laying the groundwork, in my opinion, after the last game we just played. So he wasn't happy with the performance. We only had 43 offensive plays. Nicco was 9 of 15 in that game. And after the word, Neil was literally disgusted with the offense. He even said afterwards, it's the worst we've looked in 2 years. So I felt like that, publicly he was laying the groundwork to make the switch back. Listen, Nicco, for what it's worth, is undefeated as a starter at West Virginia. He's made like 4 or 5 appearances, 3 of them starts. So the 3 starts, he's undefeated, or maybe 4 starts. I have to go back and look. But he's done some really good things. He was 18-22 against Arizona, which is 81%. He just didn't have that kind of game this past week. And unfortunately, a lot of people feel like Garrett's running ability gives us an added dimension. And Nicco can run, just not as well. And if Garrett's fully healthy, then he is the better option for now. But that's my big question: is he's coming off a concussion? How can he even use his legs to that extent? I think that's my big question.
Okay. So, well, I was trying to think advantage Baylor which way. And like I said, I mean, it seems like
if you're getting Garrett at 100%, I think you have to lean. That's a better choice for West Virginia right now. Sure. But my thing with Garrett is he's almost never at 100%. So
it feels like the explosive plays aren't quite there from where they were last year. Do you think that's an injury thing, or just the kid being banged up?
Well, rumors are rumors, right? And this is not substantiated, but I have been told by people from inside the building that he had a concussion before the Penn State game, or coming into that game, which is why he fumbled the first few snaps. Like, there was horrible snaps in that game.
It was a train wreck, yeah.
And he was complete. He didn't look like himself. He's a big time, big game quarterback. He had several come from behind wins last year. He played really big in big games. Even the Houston game, he delivered a game-winning drive. They just threw a Hail Mary. He's been great. And for whatever reason, he hasn't been that guy this year. And the only thing that explains is it's an upstairs. Like he's your brain gets injured. It's just going to change a lot. And I don't know if he's had time to fix it. Maybe these few weeks have fixed it. If he turns into the quarterback that he was last year, then this is definitely a much different team. And we can be scary, but we also have lost some offensive threats, I think, that helped take the tops off the defenses, because he led the country in big time throws and big time throw rate last year. 31 big time throws.
That's gross,
I mean, it's a lot of big time throws.
Yeah.
It's not like we had burners. He was just putting them down there. He throws a great deep ball. So, but what he gives us with his legs can compensate for a lot of that if he's willing to run and if they're going to allow him to, and if he's healthy.
Okay. All right. Either way, it's a test for Baylor's secondary. I know that's the fascinating part of this game to me, is that both teams pretty good against the run. Both teams can run it a little bit, but both teams pass defense. I know the Mountaineer fans feel better the last week or so,
right.
But both teams pass defense. Both teams can get gashed, which could make for – this could end up with an old school – Big 12 feel, and by that I mean like 2016, 2017,
not 2012, right?
We're not. Not that. Not that. No, we don't need to go back to that again. Any team that scores 63 points and loses,
What
was that was
name?
Unbelievable.
What was that lefty's name that you had that quarterback that day?
We had Nick Florence at quarterback that day.
That's right. Nick right.
Florence,
he was lefty, right? He's a righty. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then obviously Gino is still Gino. He's still doing it.
Yeah.
So educate my viewers really quick, because not everybody here they're watching, and thank you for the 105 that are in here right now on YouTube. More over on X.
It's more than watch my shows in total, Paul. That's great.
Okay.
I'm kidding. It's great fans Locked On.
I like the self-depreciating humor though. I'm all about it. So obviously you guys have got a lot of young players that are performing at a great time for you guys. You guys are 5-4. Come on now. Nobody saw that coming.
3-game losing streak heading into the first bye week, 3-game winning streak heading into this bye week.
Mirror opposites of each other.
Yep.
Pretty damn good.
Yep.
Give me some impact players in this game that West Virginia fans' eyes will want to go to. And if you can associate some numbers with that for them, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah. Sawyer Robertson, number 13. No, he's the quarterback for Baylor. He is leading the Big 12 in QB rating since Big 12 play started. He took over for DeQuan Finn week 3 of the season and has not looked back. He is a kid who can really sling it. He's got a little gunslinger in him, but protects the football, which is the kind of gunslinger we like. A lot like Garrett Greene last year for sure. And can take the top off a defense. And he's a big kid at 6'4". Don't sleep on his running ability either. He's a guy who, outside of the TCU game, is just good for 3 touchdowns a game. He is really opened up this offense with a guy you're familiar with, Jake Spavital, and really we're finally seeing that Spavital offense kind of come through after a couple of lean weeks there, and during the losing streak, it started to pick up a little bit. Bryson Washington. Offense. Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's what it is. You'll see it here. You'll see it at Nebraska.
Yeah.
And Bryson Washington, we already talked about, that's going to be that lead feature back. He's the one who hits that hole hard. I mean, he has been a huge part of this turnaround too. Also on offense, Josh Cameron. Okay. Wide receiver, also the punt returner. And one thing that both these teams are really, really good at is starting field position. And Baylor's really great in punt returning and kick returning. And a big reason why is Josh Cameron, who is a receiver you can play on the outside and in the slot, physical guy who can break tackles. He is a former walk-on who has truly come on this year. Maybe Sawyer's favorite target, he and Hal Presley, the Auburn transfer on the other side. And then defensively, The linebacking core has been real impressive for me. Again, some trouble in that defensive backfield, although Caden Jenkins, their sophomore corner, has real like lockdown corner potential. But one would be Matt Jones, who's in his 7th year. He's one of the few remaining players from that Sugar Bowl team in 2021. Just a tackling machine.
Long ago.
Yes, it feels like a long, long time ago, Paul.
Yeah.
Tackling machine. And the other linebacker is another one you guys are familiar with. If you remember special teams ace at West Virginia, Keaton Thomas, the now JUCO transfer, he has been a revelation here. Yes,
wow.
Yes. And he's had a damn good season, Paul, I'll tell you.
We heard his name a lot. A few years ago. So.
He is a dude who has really come in and like kind of taken control of this defense. He and Matt Jones at the Mike linebacker, like they read the play so well. Like even when there was, fleeting defensive success in the losing streak, they were still having huge impacts, and they really bottled up Ollie Gordon in that game 2 weeks ago. I know it's not been the best season for Ollie, but here's a guy who won the Doak last year and led the nation in rushing, and they held him under 90 yards. And Jones and Keaton Thomas were huge reasons why, and they were yapping in his face all damn day. So those are my guys to watch. And since I said that, it's probably going to be, 3 touchdowns for Matthew Klopfenstein and 2 picks for Devin Bobby and just guys that I didn't mention. Probably. Right. Daquan Finn will come back in at quarterback. Yeah,
he'll come back in at quarterback. Sorry, Robinson will leave. Yeah.
Hopefully not. Please.
Hopefully not.
Knocking on wood.
Hey, so up next on Locked On West Virginia, guys, we're going to do game keys, a prediction, and a score. You don't want to miss what Cam has to say about this game. Stick around, guys. This is Locked On West Virginia. And this episode of Locked On West Virginia is brought to you by FanDuel, guys. Get ready to tackle NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now, new customers can get $5 and $150 in bonus bets, but that's only if you win. FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets in the NFL and all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view the live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page you place your bets. You just have to visit FanDuel.com to get started today. $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment count with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the National Football League. And we are back. Thank you guys for being patient. This is Locked On West Virginia with Locked On Baylor host Cam Stuart. Man, so I think looking at this game, you've got 2 teams who do things similarly operationally.
Yeah.
But you've got a defensive head coach against an offensive-minded head coach, I feel like, in this game. Both are respected in the profession for what they can do in their respective zones of what they do. And I think it's going to be an interesting chess match between the two. Baylor's never won in Morgantown. I have to bring that up, obviously.
I've been bringing it up all week. So
yeah. Right. But you know what? I mean, stranger things have happened. We've broken some streaks of our own. Man. It can, eventually streaks were made to be broken, I think. So give me some game keys here. And then I'll give 3 as well.
Yeah, I need your impact players as well, by the way.
Okay, sure.
I didn't want to run your last segment too long, but I need your impact players too. Do you want to do that first before I give you?
Yeah, I'll give some impact players.
All right. That might change my mind on my keys.
Sure. Yeah, no. Well, I think West Virginia's best player is Wyatt Milam, and it's not close, really. You talk about Wyatt Milam; he hasn't given up a sack or a pressure in 3 years. He's probably the best left tackle in college football, and he. You look at the talent he's faced. Abdul Carter at Penn State didn't get by him. Nobody has been able to touch the quarterback with Wyatt Milam on the field. He's just that damn good. So in passing situations, West Virginia is incredibly hard to touch the quarterback. That could come into play here if Baylor does have some issues in the zone or in the man, whatever. I'm not sure exactly what they're running. And I would say Hudson Clement is a guy who leads the team in receptions, certainly, and has made impacts different games this year. He didn't play last week. We're hoping he gets back this week. Traylon Ray takes the top off. Cole Taylor at tight end has been pretty good here and there. He got 40 balls last year. He's on pace to do something a little bit less this year. But I mean, if you're looking at impact players, it really starts in the backfield of West Virginia. C.J. Donaldson, Jaheim White are both really good players. Probably both would start most places in Power 5. Jaheim White he really played well the last couple of weeks. Looking forward to seeing what he can do. He was a freshman All-American last year. He's obviously returned. C.J. Donaldson was also a freshman All-American, and he's really not had as great a year as we were all hoping for. He's right about 500 yards and 4 touchdowns. So that's almost the whole offense. But, I think our offensive line and running backs are always impact players when you play against us. And then on defense, T.J. Jackson has been a revelation. Transfer out of Troy. He's almost unstoppable as an interior pass rushing defensive tackle. He's also a great run defender. He was leading the country in pressures from the defensive tackle spot at one point this season with 20 about 3 or 4 games in. Josiah Trotter, obviously Jeremiah Trotter, great Philadelphia Eagles linebacker. His son Josiah is just a redshirt freshman, and he calls the game at a linebacker, and he is going to be an NFL player. And then you kind of drop off when you get to the West Virginia secondary. We have some guys who play better, but I don't think I would call them impact players. Guys we thought would be are injured. So I think you have to look at it like, okay, the front seven for West Virginia has been really good. They're really good against the run. Nobody has ran on West Virginia this year, literally almost nobody.
Yeah.
And so that's what makes it tough on our defense. Mm-hmm. And we're just hoping we can marry the back end of that.
Building off your last point for my first key, because I've been saying the last couple of weeks, if Baylor can live at like 150 to 180 rushing yards a game, they're going to be really successful because of what Sawyer can do in the passing game, specifically in the play action passing game. And they've exceeded that big time. And so I look at a week like this, and 150 would be a real good week against West Virginia. It would be really good. And what Baylor needs to do is they need to run it well enough for balance, because a huge part of this turnaround in the last 3 wins has been facing fronts that have not stopped the run, and Baylor's just been able to get whatever they've wanted offensively. They had a pretty good offense during that losing streak. They put up 28 against BYU. They put up 38 against Colorado. That wasn't necessarily the issue, or 31 against Colorado, whatever it was. But the problem was they were not balanced, and so they became a predictable team. It led Sawyer to try to force the issue more and run into some mistakes. Saw it in the Iowa State game as well. So you don't need to win this game with your running game the way you have the last couple of weeks, but you need just enough for balance. And I've used this as a key a bunch of times this season, but also rushing the passer, which is, as you mentioned, very tough to do against West Virginia. But it's something that the Bears they looked like that was a calling card early in the season. And if they're able to get some pressure in this game on Saturday, I'd be really impressed. And I think that would really swing advantage Baylor. And the other thing that I'm looking at is first down defense, which feels like such a football coach cliche thing. But if you can move them behind the sticks, that is especially key for this game when you look at a West Virginia team with a steady run game and one that can still take the top off, not as much as last year, but I'm looking at a Baylor secondary that gets gashed and doesn't force turnovers. Played TCU in the last game, was the worst turnover differential in the conference, and didn't force one the whole game. So they're not a ball hawking defense. And so keeping them behind the sticks is essentially how you're going to play it into your hands. You can't do bend but don't break because you're not forcing turnovers. So those are the things that I am looking for from the Bears to get that key to victory, and for the Neers.
Like it. I think similarly for West Virginia, I'm going to say this. I think clock control is going to be a big deal in this game. Baylor's offense is good. I think it's just people have to get used to it. You have to get used to saying Baylor is good because they're 5-4 now. This isn't the same Baylor that we thought was a layup 3 weeks ago. Even though I would have still been concerned, I felt like this was a dub on the schedule 3 weeks ago. Right now, I don't. You could argue Baylor's better, and I think you guys are on the spread. I believe you guys are -2.5 in this game. Last I checked, so that's West Virginia's at home. That should tell you something.
Yeah, it's wild.
But I think Neil Brown Ball, when he gets more than 20 first downs, he's like, I think he's lost one game as a coach, something crazy like that, or might be 24. It's a number in there, the 20 to 25 range. So Neil Brown, it's what I call Neil Brown ball. He loves to control clock. He loves to play slow and do tempo when it catches people off guard. He likes to do that. So I'll say clock control. I think depending on who the quarterback is, it's probably going to be Garrett. I'm going to say he's going to have to do at least over 60% passing in this game. I think that's going to, because his average is right around 55, 56-ish. It's not great. 60 was what he was shooting for this year, so I'll stick with that. And I think that on defense, I think TJ Jackson needs to make an impact in this game. He's made one in several games this year. He's wrecked games alone by himself this year, and he's got the potential to do that again. How mobile is Sawyer Robinson would you consider him to be?
Intermediate mobility.
So he's nothing like we played last week?
No.
Okay.
So you'll see him back there, and he is a pocket passer, but that he's athletic as heck, and at 6'4", he's pretty tough to bring down. He's got 3 touchdown runs of 40+ yards this year. So it's not his like go-to. You're not going to see design runs necessarily from him, maybe in a short yardage situation. But when he gets out there, he can gallop, man. Yeah. So I would say intermediate because he's good at it, just doesn't do it a lot.
West Virginia has had it's been a weird struggle this year because they've gotten, I'm talking literally dozens and dozens of hits on the quarterback. Mm-hmm. But because our pass rushers aren't what you would consider prototypical defensive end, they're inside pass rushers, they're bigger guys. A lot of times they get juked out and left, even though they're getting back there a lot. I promise you'll see this. Go watch the Pitt game. They hit Eli Holstein probably 14 or 15 times. When he had the ball in his hands, he was able to shake free or juke free somehow. And they still sacked him for like 3-4 times. I don't remember how many the number is now. So any immobile quarterback is in big trouble versus us. Like we get back there. So
he can escape.
If he can escape, you guys will probably be in better shape. But I think TJ Jackson needs to make an impact. So the secondary, I mean, it's just obvious they need to hold up. So I think if those 3 things happen, if we can get you guys off schedule with just penetrating the offensive line, I think we'll be in a good shape in this game.
All right. You want to get into some game predictions?
Yeah.
Score predictions here?
Yeah, let's do it, man. Let's see. I think this is a big game, and I picked against West Virginia 3 weeks in a row, and I almost want to continue to do it. But wait. Do we know the record in those games you picked against West Virginia? Yeah, we haven't lost since I've been picking against us.
I mean, yeah. All right. I'm not saying anything. I'll let you go.
I think it's been 2 weeks in a row, something like that. But so I picked Arizona and Cincinnati to beat us. So I'm gonna pick Baylor to win the game because we need to win the game. Does that make sense?
The comment section is going nuts right now on Locked On West Virginia.
I'm gonna say 37-34 Baylor walk off field goal.
Wow. Did you know that would be the second straight game they won with a walk-off field goal by that exact score?
I did not know. That's really weird.
That is wild that you did not know that. That you were just like, yeah, I'll do that. They'll do 37-34 walk-off field goal.
Well, I mean, I know you guys have a higher scoring offense, and your defense is struggling. So
yeah.
It's probably going to be lower scoring now.
I mean, it's close to my score prediction overall. That's just wild that they could be doing that 2 games in a row if Mountaineer Paul has his struggles.
I have no juju, man. I got no.
We'll see. We will see. I've got both teams getting into the 30s as well. I've got Baylor because why not? 38-30. They've already knocked off TCU for the first time in 5 years and only the second time in a decade. It feels like there are some good, healthy, like milestone wins. And what would be better than winning in Morgantown for the first time ever and getting rid of that juju? 38-30 is what I got. They never make it easy. And because we both said that, it'll probably end 19-16.
Probably. As long as it's not 13-9. Do you know the history of 13-9?
Yes, of course. Okay. Of course, Paul. I wasn't going to bring it up.
Leave it to me. Everybody hates me now. I can see the subscriber count going down.
The PTSD of 13-9. Oh man,
it's insane, dude. I always think about what would have happened because I feel like we had a team that could have won the national championship game, that won the national championship that year. We went and beat that Sam Bradford squad by 30. you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, they were 12-1, the Oklahoma team. We beat them by 48-21, 48-28, so about 20.
Damn.
But, yeah, we stomped them. And that's, I feel like we could have beat that LSU team, but that's neither here nor there. Man, it's been fun talking with you. I feel like it's the first time we've ever done a show together, guys. Like, we've done a lot of some crossovers together. So I was surprised with the chemistry we have. Did pretty good, man. I'm proud of that.
Look, that's Big 12 fam. Just let us cook, bro.
Cook.
We really get after it on those squad shows, and now you just trap us in a room together, and it's bound to be magic.
It's bound to be magic. And I feel like those squad shows give us a direction for the kind of silliness that we can have during our own shows.
Yeah.
Because I felt like when I first started, I felt like I need to be more buttoned up and stuff. So it's nice to kind of let loose and be a little bit more myself because I'm a silly person,
Let your hair down, Paul.
I used to have really long hair. Guys, make sure you subscribe to Locked On Baylor. Cam Stuart obviously does a really good job over there, and he really does. So make sure you're subscribed over there. He had to replace Drake Toll, so I mean, goodness gracious, what
big moccasins to fill, brother.
Yeah. So obviously that guy's crushing it too. So thank you guys for joining us here. Before we let you go, got to let you know, thank you for making Locked On West Virginia and Baylor your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Locked On Big 12 podcast. Drake Toll leads the conversation in conference realignment news, and he holds no punches when it comes to covering every team in the Big 12. Find Locked On Big 12 on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And you know what throws me off is it says holds no punches, and I always want to say pulls no punches.
I think pulls is right.
Yeah, it says holds.
He doesn't pull any punches. As I guess they both mean the same thing.
They both mean the same thing, yeah.
But yeah, I think boxing would be pulling punches.
Right.
I'm with you on this one, Paul. I think Drake probably wrote that for himself.
Probably did.
Yeah.
Shout
out to Drake's sister, by the way, committed to Baylor softball.
Oh, nice.
Today, signed on today. So congratulations to Lila Toll.
That's awesome, man. Congrats to Lila. All right, guys. Thanks you. This is for Cam. For me, we went a little over, but we were happy to do it with you guys. Make sure you share, like the video out anywhere. Donald Trump, baby. This episode's over, and we're out.